Good day, listeners. Welcome to another episode of my podcast here. I'm actually haven't yet to name this. It was something else. I'm going to do something else with it now, but I'm still going ahead with the interviews because I've got a very special guest today. There's somebody who keeps popping up on my Facebook page, and I keep going, "Gee, she's doing some great content." Gee, she's actually. I like the cut of her jib because she tells it as like I tell it, truthfully and direct and no bullshit. So, Jen Hamilton, welcome to whatever I want to call my podcast. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Greg. Can we name it? Can we get a name sorted? Like Greg Riley Rambles or like Greg Riley Rants? Or...
Oh, that's something. Yeah, I used to have one with my business partner, but we're doing different things now, so it needs to be something different. I'll sort it out. Yeah, it'd be nice to solve world peace tonight. You never know. Tell us a bit about yourself, because I've seen you pop up a bit, and I was like, "Gee, that's a great comment. Gee, that's fantastic. Gee, I love that. Authenticity. I love how you stand in your power, which I don't see a lot of these days with people." And I, it sort of just went, "I've got to interview you because I think there's something in my audience that, especially because most of my clients are female, that they can get out of some of the stuff that you do." So tell us a bit about yourself and how did you end up in this intuition, spiritual aspects, because I know your history, but how did you end up in this place?
Oh gosh, I mean, look, we've got to keep it to a minimum amount of time here, so we won't go deep with it. So I call myself a conscious life coach because, yes, I've done the life coaching stuff, but for me, it's all about living a conscious life. So I did my training in clinical hypnotherapy, strategic psychotherapy, NLP masters, lots of different energetic practices as well, and so that's all come together because I've got a flair of spirituality, but I've really stepped into a space of I can't stand the bullshit of life coaching, and I can't stand the bullshit of spirituality and the fluff that comes with it. And so for me, living a conscious life is just having this deep inner awareness of self, the awareness of, the earth that we're walking on, humanity, and grabbing life and just living life to its fullest, and there's so many, conditions and limitations and these belief systems that we are, encoded by. And so what I'm here to help people do, Greg, is, break down all of the shit basically that's in their head that's keeping them stuck so that they can realize, what is out there for them, who they are. I help people find themselves. I help people remember who they are.
So where would you say people are stuck the most? Like, what's the stuck? Because I get that a lot. Like, Greg, I'm just stuck. Where is the stuck? Because I think it leads to a very important place. Like, where is this that people find themselves stuck in life?
I always bring it back to our beliefs. It's all about our belief systems, the way our subconscious mind is programmed, where, as you would know, from the ages of 0 to 7, we're in a theta brainwave. We are sponges. We're absorbing all the information of the world coming in. Age 7 to 14, we're solidifying those beliefs, and then we're carrying all of those views of the world into our adult life. And whatever it was that we were, witnessing at those prime years is how we were viewing the world. And we didn't realize, all of the conditioning that was coming in, all of the movies that we watched that programmed who we are, the music that we listened to and sung along to that made us believe about, relationships and love and heartbreak and all of this stuff. Like I always reference the movie Grease. That was my favorite movie growing up.
Yeah.
And I can say it line for line. But I also noticed as I was growing up, I took up smoking cigarettes to get attention. I changed my looks because I believed that, it's what boys wanted, that you had to be part of the cool group to fit in. And that's just one example. And then if we look at what happened, in our family systems, what happened in our parents' relationships and in our family dynamic, we take on board all of their beliefs and all of their conditioning as well. And so the stuckness that people experience is all of these deep-seated beliefs that we have that because they are subconscious, we don't have readily access to them.
Yeah.
They're all in there, and it's through, the power of, hypnotherapy and, all of this mindset work that we can go in and figure out what those blocks are, what those beliefs are, where it is not only in our minds, like every single cell in our body is our mind, so we're having, a somatic experience with the process as well. And so it's really bringing all of these pieces out and going, well, hang on a second, what is it that you actually believe? And is that actually true? No, it's fucking not. In a nutshell.
Hallelujah. Basically. Look, I find that a lot of people come across and come across, they're misidentified. And like you were saying before, is that you grew up in that kind of thing about, Greece, and tell us a bit about the journey of a female and the traps that they get when growing up, and they become this identity. Even now, tell us about the girl boss stuff, going into, you can have it all, you can do everything and manage children and manage your career and all that kind of stuff, and the impact of that. And I'm sort of just, it's a lot of topics here. So
There's a lot. Yeah.
tell us,
Yeah.
because you are very successful, what you're balancing everything, right? But, tell us about this illusion that women have got this identity today.
Isn't it so interesting? Because like there's been this like empowered women movement that's almost tipped the scales too far. It's the I don't need no man, I can do this by myself. And I fell so deep into that many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And it's this mindset of like, I don't need anyone because I have to prove to the world that just because I'm a woman that I can do it all. And it's really funny. There was a few years ago, this is before I became a coach, before I started studying, I was very much in that mindset. I'd gone through a separation with my kid's dad. And I remember that I'd asked him for help at some stage to do something around the house. And he said, I'm not your partner anymore. Figure it out for yourself. So I coded into myself, I can't ask for help. And I remember this one particular day, I wanted to move some of the furniture around in my house, and I wanted to move a TV from one living room to the other. And so I still had it on the TV cabinet, and I was holding onto it, and I was like pulling it against the floorboards, and the TV fell and smashed. And all because I thought I could do this. It was a fucking 80-inch TV, right? Because I thought that I could do it myself, because I had, first of all, I was asking the wrong people for help, because I had people in my life that if I'd asked them for help, they would have said yes, but I was going to essentially the wrong people, Yeah. And so, from there it was like, oh, see, I have to do everything on my own, and I'm all by myself, and woe is me. And then it was like some of the music that we were listening to, it's like, oh, empowered women and this, and the girl boss movement became so far extreme. And so for me, it's been realizing that, hang on, I get to decide what I am as a girl boss. I am the girl boss that rests, that nourishes myself, that, flows gently with ease, that, asks for help, that doesn't have to do it all on her own. I don't have to live my life feeling as though like I have to push men away, especially, there's this rise of women that think, that we don't need men. And I think, I think it's gone too far, way too fucking far.
Tell us about, because in that mode, you've kind of got women who are now more in their masculine or more in their headspace, and you obviously would see a lot of people. Tell us about, is there a disconnect when women sort of, just like you mentioned before, about somatic stuff? And I know you do a lot of tantric stuff as well. Tell us about what you find with women just reconnecting in that space.
Yeah, so women have lost themselves, because especially what we've seen a lot is a lot of relationships breaking down, and so women have had to take on the role of mothering, sometimes doing, the fathering as well, having to take everything on board. But also, like, let's look at the cost of living. Let's look at, the prices are rising. The woman is, in most family dynamics, has had to go back to work. So she hasn't been able to be in her feminine, to be the mother, to be the nurturer. She's also gone out to be the supportive breadwinner, or the solo breadwinner as well. And so, there's this disconnect from, family life and nurturing and nourishing. And then that's happening. So, women that aren't respecting their cycles of life, their own personal menstrual cycles, we're not designed to be on the same cycles that men are. And so we're disconnected from our pleasure. We're disconnected from our intuition, because we're just in this go, go, go mode, and it's this, we can't help it at the best of times too, because like I said, the cost of living is there. Women are going back. Like, there's so many people having multiple jobs these days because it is hard. It is rough, and so there's this expectation for women, for mothers to succeed. and they're seeing other women doing it. And then there's like, oh, okay, cool. Come and join my MLM or my group or whatever it is. And,
Yeah.
I used to coach a lot of people in a multi-level marketing business, and the whole concept of what they were doing was like, we need to retire our husbands. Let's bring our husbands home. So they were taking on the breadwinner role.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but so many have crashed and burned because they've demasculated their partners because they were the stay-at-home dads. Then all the pressure was on them. And then the house of cards fell. What happens if a woman goes to have another baby and, the dad's a stay-at-home dad, and, there's all these expectations and all these like desires to succeed and make more money and have the stuff and the things that we just kind of like forget who we are along the way.
So who is that?
As in the woman?
Well, as you said, like we forget who we are, and that's a great comment, because, like you said, that we have this. It goes for both men and women. This drive for success, this external validation that if we have more, we want more, and we get more, and then we get stuck in this thing about trying to become some person in the future. That if we get there, we'll be happy. But quite often that goalpost keeps changing, and we're trying to get there. And the more we want, the more we try and fill up the hole inside of us. We get further away from who we truly are.
Yeah, yeah. And it's the remembrance of self. So for me, it was coming back and realizing, what is it that truly lights me up in this world? What do I actually want? Not what society wants from me, not what my clients want from me, not what, the collective wants from women. What do I want? And am I incorporating enough of that in my life to feel as though, okay, I've got this, And so for me, success is about having a balanced nervous system, For me, it's about adventure and play and pleasure and, all of these things that can coexist with being a girl boss, with success, in the traditional sense. But it's also discovering, what my values are and living in alignment with those.
Because the thing is, like, that's a question that, I ask my clients. One of the things is, who am I? Who are you? And a lot of them just got no idea. They'll just list off the things like, well, my name is this, and this next thing goes, this is my career.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like, okay, right. And I go, well, but that's what you do. That's not who you are. And they go, who are you? Well, I'm a dad. No, that's what you do. Right. And it gets to the point where they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite quote, the favorite thing that I say to myself is, I am, it is. Because it's all of it and it's none of it.
Yeah. And it's just it's the trap of, this, desire for success in a way that's just, is it making you more disconnected? And I suppose that's what you do, is you help people reconnect with, their true self. There's not this external validation of what's inside, this internal revolution kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And it's such a journey to get there. Not only to get there, but to hold it in there as well. Because then life continues to happen. It's all well and good to, get your head in the bucket, in an ayahuasca ceremony, or, lose yourself in breath work and find, the fragmented pieces of yourself and put them back together. But it's really about, integrating that into your life and, doing the things that constantly remind you who you are and, being the embodiment of that.
And that's sometimes hard because you jump back into society. And it does take courage. Like, for someone to actually go down the path of employing you as a coach, does take sheer guts.
Yeah.
Because I've got an idea what you do, and it's pretty on. It's not common, right? It's not, you're not going for hypnotherapy, you're not going for NLP. It's pure presence. It's purely just you and the person. There's no script. There's no NLP techniques. There's no, and we'll get on this thing about, we did talk about this beforehand. Jen and I, we're very much, there's a lot of shit out there, right?
A lot of fluff.
But it takes unique talent. And I think that what you can't teach is the intuition part, which is probably what you've got in spades in a very big way, that you can just sit there and be present with someone and go to the right space, but to help them open up, because to go and employ someone like you takes so much guts, because you are not like a normal coach.
No, and thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, look, I have the pieces of paper, and I don't see people for, general hypnotherapy. I don't see people for wanting to quit smoking, lose weight, anxiety, all of the general stuff. I don't help people and, just for accountability and like mapping out certain things. There's so much more to that, and I even have that as a disclosure on my website now. I'm not the coach for you if that's what you're after. I'm simple as that.
You're a stripping bear. You are running around Gabba naked with no clothes on, kind of in front of a crowd.
Yeah,
It is.
pretty much.
Yeah, it's pretty much that, and I love that. But and I want to ask you because I see this. The other side of the thing is that there's the men who need healing as well too. And there's a lot of stuff these days about toxic masculinity, men of violence, and all that kind of stuff. And there is a portion of the population that has some issues and has some mental health issues, and that's a whole other discussion that people can't get in to see mental health experts these days because they're all backpacked out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think men are getting a bad rap these days as well too, because there are so many good men out there, but we're not nurturing those guys and saying, they're our champions. We love those guys who are our champions, who want to be that kind of. But all we hear in the media at the moment is this: men are horrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so many wounded men and women, and it's the wounded women that are now, we're seeing it so much in the media. There's a lot around domestic violence at the moment, and yes, there are women being killed in that environment, and like that is a separate discussion. But the women are in pain, and that pain is being projected at men, and it's like, all men are predatory. All men, we're classing them as unsafe. All men are this. And it's like, hang on a second. We couldn't do this without men. I love men. I value men. Like, I have so much respect for the man that stands up and does the work, and that, there has been, for so long, men aren't allowed to show emotions. Men don't cry. Men this, men that. Hang on, let's just put all of that down. Like, they're human as well, with hearts and souls. And there's just so much, there's so much wounding on both sides.
Yeah.
And we, the whole girl boss movement, the whole empowered woman, does not mean that we don't need men, and this is what I'm so frustrated with seeing, because like, men have feelings too. Men need to be loved and adored and respected and honored for who they are and what they do. And we need to start changing this narrative very quickly.
What happens to a man who embraces the spiritual aspect of life?
Look, to me, I love this. So spirituality, to me, spirituality is, first of all, whatever the fuck you decide it to be.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
And for me personally, Greg, spirituality is my connection to self and my connection to source, my connection to all things. That is my version of that. When men start to embody that within themselves, whatever that looks like for them, whether it's God, universe, whether it's just know thyself, it is that awareness of self. And so when men have that awareness for self, that is their journey inwards as well. And it's a beautiful thing for a man to go inwards.
It is literally a game changer.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen so many men in these powerful CEO positions, right? You want to know power, like real true power, you step inward and you watch what changes, and you see that the kind of person that you become is like nothing you've ever experienced before in your whole life. There's a presence about you. There's a confidence about you. There's a heart space about you. There is the balance of the masculine and feminine in that space as well too. And there's this magic that happens.
Yeah. And there's a lot of women that have, I guess, started to carve this path, that are holding the space for the men to come through for this. And there's a lot of us waiting as well for them to be like, come on, you can do it. Let's go.
The first thing should be, and this is all completely off topic, there should be lesson number 4 or 5 in the thing. I was thinking the thing is, okay, men, this is how you have sex with a female.
Right.
Right? Yeah. 90% of it's not intercourse.
Yeah. I always say that foreplay is everything outside of intercourse.
The amount of men who have no clue is significantly high, because most men learn how to have sex while watching porn.
Right.
But to have that empower someone like yourself, hold space for a man to be able to go down that path of very tantric kind of stuff, very somatic stuff, like, it is freakishly good.
Yeah, yeah, it is, because like, the principles of Tantra teach to know thyself, to connect. The whole thing, I mean, first of all, the whole thing is a cosmic joke, life, right? And it's also about that connection to self, that remembrance of self. And when you have that awareness and you can see yourself, you see others, and to be truly seen is intimacy. Intimacy,
Correct.
if you break that down into me, I see, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
to connect with someone, through deep, nourishing intimacy is that the coming together of two souls.
It is, unless you've experienced. So if you're a man listening to this, right? I don't know if you do this, Jen, but there is things that you've probably never experienced before, unless you actually go down a sort of inward journey and to experience this, and then to have a intimate, connected, physical connection with another partner. I don't know how to explain it in words.
Because it's beyond words. It's a
Yeah,
physical feeling. It's very
yeah.
somatic. Yeah.
Oh, it's so present. Like, it's just, there's no rush. It's a place of cosmic bliss.
Mm. And that's where we came from. That's where
Yeah.
we're designed to be. That's if we can integrate those parts into our daily lives. And pleasure doesn't have to mean, sex or intercourse or, physical activity with another person. This gets to ripple out in every area of our life. And this is what I, support women through as well. It's like,
Yeah.
food can be this sunshine on your skin, swimming in the ocean. It's about incorporating these moments into our lives every single day to experience pleasure.
Oh, God, I love this. This is what we're saying is wrong with most of the coaching industry, right? They focus on doing things. They focus on tasks. So you got to get to we will 10x your business or we'll 10x your life by doing these things. But what Jen's sort of saying is it's a backwards journey. It's an inward journey, and then you remove the stuff that's in the way,
Yeah.
and then this thing just sort of blossoms out. This is the true self. This is the true thing. So why are people afraid to go down that journey of going inward rather than outward? Because we see a lot of coaches pushing the 10x stuff.
Yeah. It's the fear. It's the fear of the pain, because there's a lot there. Like when you do the work, like when you have to sit there and look at your shit and look at yourself and be so wildly authentic to say, I fucked up. Right? That hurts. That fucking stings to be wrong, because we're so wired to believe that wrong equals bad and bad is unsafe and unsafe means I will not survive. And our nervous system gets on board and says, abort mission, get out of here. It's not okay. So it's our relationship with ambiguity. It's our relationship with being wrong. It's our relationship with truth and being our authentic selves, and the fear of judgment, the fear of being seen. Like there's so many aspects to this. Like, and that's why we call it a journey, because there's layers upon layers that we've got to get through to get there.
So you mentioned relationship. What is, from your experience, allows for a really great connected relationship between two souls, two people?
Yeah, so I always say in a conscious relationship, there's three entities. Okay, so there's let's just call it man and woman for now. Okay,
Whatever.
take it whichever way you want. Man,
Yep.
so the woman, the man, and then the actual relationship is an entity as well. And I always say refer to it as a ball of light.
Yeah.
And both the man and the woman, they pour 100%. There is no 50-50 in this. It's 100 pouring into it. But when one needs more, then this ball of light is lit right up that another can take from if they need to. And it's about it's that giving and receiving in that. It's never going to be rainbows and butterflies, but it's about knowing yourself and then getting to know all the ways in which your partner needs love and needs to be seen and valued and nurtured in the dynamic.
Yeah. So what happens to a relationship if someone doesn't deal with the history or past and drags it into a relationship, hoping that the relationship will fix something?
It's just going to keep circulating. It's a pattern. You can't expect a relationship to be a circuit breaker for a pattern that you're not willing to change.
Yeah.
And it's open communication. Like I always say, I love COC, crystal clear open communication. CCOC. Because it all comes down to communication. It's about communicating, you know, what your desires, needs, and, you know, what it is, like how you receive love.
Yeah.
But also saying, you know, what is it that I can do to support you? How do you want to be seen? How do you want to be nurtured? What is it that you need from me during these times? And knowing that it's never going to be perfect. You're never going to get it right all the time. But it's about entering into a space where you know, you work together. And I always say, like, it's always about, you know, deciding to continually go to each other's funerals. You know, you're always going to go through new cycles and new patterns. There's going to be a death of self, you know, through every growth period. And it's, you know, allowing the other person's stuff to die off and still being there, you know, as they're going through this rebirth within themselves.
Well, I find it interesting, right? Because I was saying this to a client the other day, like, and he's very, you know, educated. So he's got a master's degree. You know, he's got, you know, more learning, and he's now doing some property stuff. He's learning about that. So he's always learning different things, right? And he's doing that for other stuff, right? His work, and then success and money and finance, all that kind of stuff, right? But the one thing he's never invested time and money into is himself and relationships.
Mm.
And you've just said that there about, you know, it's constantly this rebirth, constantly this death, you know, living cycle, right? You have to push the edge of it, constantly reinventing the relationship. Yet we try and wing it.
Mm.
You know, we you know, golf coach, you know, you've got golfers who have golf coaches, you've got footballers who have football coaches, you've got soccer people having soccer coaches. Yet the most important thing in our life, we choose not to invest in.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's what I witnessed growing up as well. So in my family dynamic, like my parents they're still married, but I grew up with my mum saying, I'm only with your father for the sake of you kids in the church. Right. And so I went, well, if that's marriage, I don't want that. You know, or that, you know, you have to abandon yourself and your needs and your desires for the sake of keeping a family unit together. You know, so it's what we've witnessed, you know, in those, remember, I spoke about those early years that we grow up in and that we're making our minds up about the world. We need to go back and have a look at what was going on then. You know, what have we modeled as what is a relationship? You know, if we've seen, you know, majority of our friends go through separation and divorce, and it's like, oh, well, you know, you're next kind of thing. Or, you know, the old saying, like the first year of marriage is the hardest. And you know, whatever the bullshit story is, the narrative is that we tell ourselves, that's what we end up believing. You know, it comes back down to our belief systems.
Yeah. And you said that it's interesting that I when I was sort of, you know, doing corporate stuff and doing like leadership in there, I'd have a chat to, you know, the team leaders who were people leaders, and I'd say, do you know anything about the subconscious mind and the effect of stress on the mind? And they went, no. I said, well, how can you be a people leader? Like the amount of people who don't have access to this, or it would literally change the way that people would relate to each other and lives if they understood how the human brain works. And this is why I don't get with psychics, and it's my little rant here, right? Is that's what psychics don't get either. They'll sit there and throw out some tarot cards and predict, but they don't understand the human brain or the human mind, that it's a pattern.
Yeah.
And you can actually sit there and predict, oh, Dave's going to come along in October and he's going to sweep you off your feet, and you're going to be all, you know, roses, and he's going to have two kids, and one's going to have blue eyes and one's going to have green eyes. And that makes people feel good about themselves. But that poor girl has come from 3 traumatic abusive relationships. Now, what is she really going to have next as a relationship?
He's going to have the same thing repeating unless she looks
exactly right. Yeah, and I know you're highly intuitive, right? I mean, you know, does that ever shit you sometimes when you see just predictions like that thrown out there?
Yeah, massively, massively. And like I've got people in my field that are incredible psychics, but they also, instead of going, oh, you're going to be doing this and it's that, it's like they'll pick up the energetic frequency that person is letting off about themselves and help them go into that and be like, well, hang on a second. Like, let's look at what is the stuff that you're holding on to that you need to let go of?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it is very much an art form, because I don't know how long you were before you saw your first client. Like, I was like 4 or 5 years. My mentor wouldn't let me see anybody for probably 4.5, 5 years before I actually saw my first client. My first client, I was so horribly crap. I feel sorry for this guy. Bit of a rite of passage, but it does take someone highly skilled and highly intuitive to do what you do.
Yeah, yeah. I got thrown in the deep end actually with my first client. My first client had sexual abuse and trauma in their life, and like you've got to know your stuff. Like there's so many like weekend courses on how to do this and how to do that, but unless you've actually done the work and you know how to support someone, really really properly support someone, not just throw things out flippantly that you read in a textbook or learned on a weekend course,
Or reading
there's
a
a lot
script.
to it. Yeah. I've never used a script because scripts don't exist in what I do. They
Yeah.
can't exist.
So let's delve into that. What is the power of what you do? Like, let's just say you're a brand new client, and they've got some issues. That's the power of what you do, because I'm interested, because the energy that comes off you, people should be like, she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah. Well, so I always, I always start, what is it that you want to work through? Tell me about that. What is it that you have to believe about yourself in order to have this experience? So what does it look like to go inwards? Like, what is the story? Like, what is the narrative that you're telling yourself, and how long has that been there? How did you get to that point? I do this amazing program that I came up with this modality. It's a belief reconstruction.
Yeah.
So we take the belief, we understand what it is, we break it down as to like how it served them, where did it come from,
Yeah.
what is it that they might lose that they value if that belief was to change, because sometimes we're holding on to things so tightly because it feels good, or that we're worried that we'll lose out on whatever it is. And we pull it apart and go, well, hang on a second, now that we've fragmented it, what do you want to believe instead?
Yeah.
And then we rebuild it in order to, create those new neural pathways, to find new ways, find proof to sustain the new belief and start to embody that in. And, we have to start small. You can't just go like wildly out there all of a sudden, you can't shock the system too hard that you're going to retract. I do a lot of psychoeducation. So I do a lot of explaining how the subconscious mind works. I explain how we're wired. So, and usually that's, first and second session, because then it helps people understand how they got there in the first place. There's no point going, okay, this is the modality that's going to fix your shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to help you understand how you got there to begin with.
And it takes me on to the next. This is working so well. The people who come to you and say, please take it away for me.
I'll say I'm not the person for you because I can't do that. I'm sorry. I can show you how to do it for yourself, but I'm not that person.
It's common though, isn't it?
It is very common. Yes.
I'll
Fix
come
me,
to see you.
please.
Please
Yeah.
fix me. Yeah. Come, and you see, especially other people already know that half the industry hates me anyway, right? But it's like going to see a kinesiologist and going, yeah, I want you to do this, this, and this, and take that, or Reiki master and going, all right, I've done this, taken this out, healed you, go off and do your own thing. And you're back in the environment, back to the abusive husband, back to the abusive work, and nothing changes.
Yeah.
But they keep going back to this person to try and get, I'm being healed, I'm being healed.
Mm-hmm.
They don't heal you. They never have.
No, because they're not being empowered and shown how to do it within themselves, to look inwards. That's the inwards journey again. Yeah.
So the only person that can heal you is
yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
And that, when people realize that, that's where empowerment comes from.
Yeah.
But that's also the scary moment. That's on me.
Yeah.
I can't do this shit.
Yeah. I mean, if we kept handing over our power to someone to fix us and heal us, and all of a sudden they disappeared, then what? It's the same as in relationships. When we put that on our partners in relationships, it's like, oh, you're here to fix this wound that I've been carrying around for so long. And it's just a Band-Aid effect. And if something happened, like if that, if the relationship broke down, or, someone left or whatever it was, and then it's the same, it's just the wound torn back open again. It's like, no, we have to go inwards and heal ourselves from the inside.
What's been one of your, biggest learning experiences in your life, apart from, growing up where you were just, parents just there for you, and religion?
Through doing this work, remembering who I am through all of this, where I've, abandoned myself in relationships, where I've abandoned myself as a mother, or a friend, and given so many parts of myself away, and then going, hang on a second, I need to call those parts back. It's a remembrance of self, like why, this is going quite deep, but why the fuck I'm here on this earth, what I'm here to do, from that very spiritual perspective. Like, why did I sign that soul contract to come down here on earth at this time, and that's, to do the work on myself, and then also to show other people how to do that as well, because it comes so naturally to me and I love it so much. And it supports so many other people to do it, and so I love this work that I do, and it's through constantly going inwards and coming back to myself and remembering, oh, that's right, this is what I do, this is who I am and how I serve.
Yeah, it's funny because I think you're pretty much on the same page as me with this stuff, but like this stuff where this retrieval part, like you're giving away all this power to all these different things, and people are so exhausted, and then once you retrieve that back, you do find this other aspect of you, but then you realize that, like you said, the story that you had is just language.
Yeah.
It's words in your head. And so many people are trying to fix problems, but the problems are an illusion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a story that we tell ourselves.
And that's where most people are where most therapy go wrong, is you're trying to fix problems that never really existed. They were just a voice in your head based on a belief you made up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then our whole life gets on board with that, because, our beliefs shape our reality.
Yeah.
Our thoughts shape our reality. So what it is that we believe about ourselves, the things that we're constantly telling ourselves and reminding ourselves of, so with all the stuff and the things every single day, is what we're experiencing because we believe it to be true. And that's the cycle that so many people get caught in.
Yeah. So if you're going around thinking, I'm wrong, I'm worthless, I'm unlovable, I'm a mistake, no one needs me, nobody hears me, nobody wants me, what's your external expression? What's your external experience?
That is a shit show. Like, that's like, were you born thinking that? Like who hurt you? What made you think that?
But then what happens from there is that everything in life, like you said, as within, so without.
Yeah. Yeah. I went through a separation last year, and my whole world came crashing down, as it does, and I always talk about the breakdown and the breakthrough. Like, we have so many of those over and over again, and so what I always reference it as, Greg, is like, it's like a wrecking ball to a mirror. Okay. And the fragments of the mirror all over the floor, and you're scrambling going, oh my God, I got to put all the pieces back together. But what I decided through that is that I would pick up the pieces and make a mosaic and make art with that.
Oh, God.
We don't have to pick up all the pieces and stick them back together how they were, because they don't exist anymore.
And there was nothing to fix in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the sort of the dichotomy, right? Everyone's going around life trying to fix something with themselves.
Yeah.
Constantly trying to work on myself, constantly trying to fix myself. It's like, where you come from is this innate place of, spiritual well-being, is that's already part of you.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's who you are.
Do you know what? There's a lot of money to be made in healing and broken people. It's the same as sick people in the medical industry. Do you know what I mean? In so many levels of like the fluffy spirituality and even coaching, it's trying to tell people that they're broken, that they need to be healed and fixed. And it's like, okay, let me just remind you that perhaps not. Maybe you're whole and complete as you are, and you just forgot who you were.
Although I did have my head in the ayahuasca bucket and say, "See, I need to be fixed." Don't worry about that. Yeah,
she does that, doesn't she?
Like, there can't be any more come out of me. I'm serious. I haven't eaten for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, it's all Greg. Sorry.
Oh yeah, and it's deep when you like that purge is like being a wringing out a sponge.
I remember the shower rubbing my back. It's like, keep going, Greg. Like, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
The bottom of the bucket opened up to the universe. And it's like, there's no bottom of the bucket. What's going on?
Exactly. And sometimes, like, you have to get your head in the bucket to sort your shit out. Like, I've had my head in the bucket, 4 or 5 times. People do it through breath work. People do it through your cold therapy. People find their way to it doesn't have to be an ayahuasca journey. But it's a bit like whatever that experience takes you to is what you need. But then once you've integrated it, let it go, because it doesn't exist anymore. There's so many people that ruminate in it because they feel stuck, because it's almost like, there's a lot of people that feel as though healing is a subscription model. I teach people how to, I come up with what's called the chair model. Okay. So whatever the thought is or the belief, we'll call it, right?
Yep.
So catch it. Okay. So catch the thought, realize that it's there, honor it. Thank you. Thank you for showing me where there's light to be let in. Thank you for showing me what it is that I need to do. Alchemize it. How can I change this into something that's actually nourishing and supportive? Integrate it. How can I have this new version of this alchemy into my life? And then R is for release it. Let it go.
Ooh.
It's done. Let it go.
I love that, because there's a lot of things out there today which is about bypassing. It's the just positive thoughts
Yeah.
world, right? So I love that. I mean, and that's very powerful. Like, the human experience is such a powerful aspect of why we're here, and to lean into that sadness, lean into that despair, because that is the gateway to the next version, or whatever, of yourself. That is part of the experience of why we come here, and that is a gift in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we decide to go into it and we face off with the darkest stuff, then it's done.
Yeah, and the dark leads to light, the light leads to dark.
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
coin has two sides to it.
Yeah. We don't get one without the other. Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. It's such a powerful thing. And this is why it's so different to standard therapy, right? This is why I wanted to jump on you, because you heard me people ramble about this stuff for God knows how long. But you're seeing a different aspect to it here, and you're seeing exactly the same type of, thought patterns. It's seriously fantastic that you've got someone here who has the conviction to sort of tell it differently to the most of how everything else works out there. And it does take courage, because you are a bit of a black sheep.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it does go in the flight of everybody else doing what they're doing, right? It does go into direct, opposition to healers.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm okay with that, because I love who I am and what I do.
Yeah.
And I know what I offer works, for my people as well. There's people that can hear me and there's people that can't hear me, and that's fine.
Do you find that sometimes in sessions you don't say a lot?
I try to be quite minimal. Like, I have the 2 ears, 1 mouth method.
Maybe
Yeah.
people don't have 2 ears sometimes. That's very strange.
Sometimes I'll say to people, like, they'll be in their story and I'll be like, wow, you are so creative. You came up with that yourself. Do you think you are the only one in the world that experiences that? Oh my gosh, congratulations. If there was like some kind of awards ceremony for the bullshit story you could tell yourself, you would win. You would get every gold medal for that.
I get it. It takes balls, guts, courage to say shit like that, because it's most people say, oh, gee, that's horrible. Your husband's an asshole.
Mm.
Well, you're going, do you know why you're creating this?
Yeah. 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 How's that going for you?
Yeah. He's reflecting back to your self-worth.
Yeah.
You think you're worthless, so he's going to keep treating you this way. It's the
Mm-hmm.
mirror for you. Stop blaming him. He's just doing what you tell him to.
Yep, exactly.
It's like, no, I want to blame people. No, I want to be able to judge, and you're the problem, and you've done this to me, and you've done that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can have that, or you can look the other way. Let's go that way. You don't have to stay stuck in that cycle if you choose not to.
Yeah, that's what I find with a lot of people. You kind of, it's like, are you ready for this? It's like, yeah, I'm ready for this. Are you really ready for this? Yeah, I am. No, you're not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's so this work is not for everybody.
No, exactly. And that's why, like, I will, if someone's not ready, then I'm not the coach for them,
It is seriously life-changing. Like, the shit you do there's life-changing, and then there's groundbreaking, life-changing, reality change. This is not just changing my husband likes me. This is the whole game changes.
Yeah, and that can be scary too for people, because it's so wildly outside of their comfort zone. And if they've existed in their comfort zone for so long, and they've, they have this fear of ambiguity and what it looks like on the other side and who they might be because of that, then of course fear is going to come up. And so, I work very closely with fear and educating around what fear is to begin with, so they understand, like, this is what's going to happen in this process. It's going to be wildly uncomfortable, like I love.
You're telling me that change and looking at yourself is not comfortable?
Well, that's subjective. That's the subjective perspective, Greg. Like, I love it. If
I was
you
looking on the couch and just do this, right?
if
Come
you
on.
if you said to me, like, do the inner work or go for a 10-kilometer run, I would do the inner work, right? Because I know what the odds on the other side of that. A 10-kilometer run, no, thank you.
But it is red pill, blue pill stuff. It is like, that's the reason, why I joined it, because I like what you do and I like how you talk, because it's very straight, it's very direct, and people need to hear this, because that's why there's people on here and it will be watching this and listening to this and go, I would love to do that. 9 out of 10 of you aren't ready.
Mm.
That's the basic fact of it. This stuff, this shit, is for very serious people, because it does change every aspect. It is, your reality will change because you have a different perspective on life.
Oh yeah, it's
You
a
can't
circuit
see
breaker.
it. It is completely, like, you'll see things and you'll experience things. It's like the light turns on, and it's not for everybody, because some people are better off staying asleep
Oh yeah, yeah.
and living in that. And that's why, and if anyone wants to work with Jen, we'll put the stuff down. We'll put details at the end of this. But it is a reality shift,
Mm-hmm.
because you go from life happening to you to realizing you are the creation of reality.
Yeah, and through that is ultimate liberation, because you get to take charge of then who you are and what it is that you do experience. Like, life is still going to happen to you. You're still going to have shit things that happen. You're not exempt from, like, the shit show that is life as well, but you've got the tools to be able to move through it.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately, people do leave your life.
Yeah.
And that's why I think some people are afraid of sometimes, is that is that it will change aspects of people's relationships. And that sometimes holds people back, because it's like, well, I can't leave these people around me, even though they're holding them back.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you shift into that place of your innate power or innate being, you will not deal with that shit anymore.
Exactly. And the thing is, like, we are energetic beings. So let's talk about it in the space of frequency. So we're all, vibrating at a frequency, essentially. When you go in and do this work, you are going to change frequencies, and it's going to be, say, for example, like the Nova radio station, right?
Yep.
I can tune into Brisbane 106.9 and I can hear that station, right? I can't tune into Nova in Melbourne and pick up what people in Melbourne hear, because it's on it. All I would get is static.
Yeah.
Right. Because the frequency is different. Right. So when we go through this growth work, our frequency starts to shift, and people can no longer hear us. They will hear static. It just doesn't, we don't align anymore. And for some people, it gets very quiet, because they're like, hello, is anyone here? I've lost all my people. And then, like, there's this beautiful space that's now open for people that are at that frequency, that are, coming from that same authentic, open, nurturing place that you found yourself at.
Yeah. Sorry. It is liberating, but it's as scary as all hell. And like you said, the frequency side of things is, well, we haven't touched on that too much, which we'll do another episode. Is a major part of understanding how you operate as a human being, or just the vessel you incarnate. You just renting this body. But people, when they start to travel down this path and understand the spiritual aspects of life, about that you are energy, you are consciousness, that this whole thing is a game.
Yeah.
Put made up.
Yep.
Right.
All of it.
And then you just kind of you still step back and you go, oh, okay, right. It's a different. You have this different aspect, and there's a freedom in it, and that's what I think I want people to understand, is that this is not Jen going, let's have unlimited wealth, let's have the top relationships, let's have whatever we want to have, because that's still stuck in the three-dimensional ego structure, right? What you're offering people is actual freedom.
Yeah. Yep. The freedom to think, the freedom to be, the freedom to
Explore,
live this life, I'm certainly not chasing enlightenment, because to me that means, like, game over, we're done. I want life. I want all of the aspects of life so that I can learn and grow and feel while I'm here.
There's a great three part mini series on Gaia called Samadhi, and it's really interesting because they talk about that the people who are trying to attain enlightenment or attain samadhi or trying to use a tool or a practice to try and gain somewhere, that in itself is the construct and the barrier to your own presence.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, I'll touch on this very briefly because obviously, we're in the third dimension. There is so much buzz around the fifth dimension at the moment, 5D this, 5D that, right? And a lot of people talk about ascension, ascending, rising.
Yeah.
And if we look at the 3D plane that we're on Earth, we are here with time and space, and beyond this plane, time and space doesn't exist. So there's no such thing as ascension. For me, ascending is actually a deeper awareness of inwards. There's no going up, there's no above. Like it's the inwards, it's the understanding that, and that to me is consciousness, that inner awareness, that constant levels of knowing thyself.
I knew I had to interview you because it's just spot on. That's perfect because, like you said, everyone's trying to search. It's this ascension model, which showing you, which is reinforcing now that you are not enough, that you are not who you are, which is not your spiritual being, that you are not worthy. You need to ascend to a certain place to gain this, to attain that, and then when you attain that, and there's the problem. There's the shit that doesn't work.
And a lot of people are making a hell of a lot of money from it, saying that there's certain codes for wealth there, and that there's this and there's that there, and I'm just like, fuck off. Fuck off.
Have you DNA activation yet?
Oh, my DNA activation. I'm pretty sure that happened like at conception.
I've got to go and get mine. It's like a 6-monthly blood test or 12 months to get my DNA activation, so I get unlimited
right. Wealth codes.
Because people sit there, they want to be able to have this unlimited wealth without doing anything. And if someone does this and activates a DNA code, they can sit on the couch and become wealthy. Go for it, but you're gullible as all hell.
Exactly, because the ones that are making money from it are the ones that are trying to teach people how to do it, and it's just like, yeah.
Oh, and I saw one on Mindvalley. There was a chick on there, and look, I get what she's saying. Like, I get that, because she's very, very well known, right? So all she has to do is put a post out, and all of a sudden she'll have thousands of people, and you go, "Oh, look, I've got unlimited wealth." Yeah, of course you have, because you've got a massive following. You tell that to someone to sit there and do a 4D meditation, and all of a sudden that person's got clients coming in their door. No,
right?
It's not going to happen. But
and then you think that you're innately there's something wrong with you if it doesn't happen for you. It's like, what?
Tell you that.
I'm blocked. I'm blocked. I can't. There's something wrong with me. I have to fix this. Again, we're back into the subscription model of healing and ascending, and I'm so over that.
It's nothing to do with your business model. In fact, you've got no, that how you want to work with it at all. Anyway,
there's no structural strategy to your business, but go and meditate and think that that's what brings them all in. Yeah, totally.
God, we've just upset 90% of the population. Well,
not even sorry about it.
All right, the time is up. Jen, we are definitely going to have more discussions on this because we could probably bag a few more people. But what I want people to come out of this is the essence of what Jen's saying is that there is power in what she does. And it is the way to get, I suppose, access to yourself in a more deeper way. This is the path that everyone's looking for. And there's very, very few people around that I know who do this. Most people teach the other way of fixing problems and trying to attain someone in the future. What Jen is doing, very, very few people do, and it is access to freedom. So, Jen, how do people get in touch with you? Have you got any workshops? You got anything on? You got what's men and women? I don't know who you see both, but please, how do we get in touch with you?
I do see both. So the best thing to do is jump on my website, which is jenhamilton.coach, and all my information. So I do different workshops and online events and bits and pieces. I work, with people one-on-one all around the world. So we can do it via Zoom or in Brisbane. I see people in person. But the best way to keep up to date with everything is, the website, or even on Instagram, my handle is @JenHamiltonOfficial.
Jen, thank you very, very much for this.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Great, this is fantastic. Thank you, people. Again, if you want to catch hold of Jen, I will put some details below this, and look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.